You never been rocked enough. You never been rolled just right. My time is your time, baby. And baby ain't got all night. Anyways, how the heck are you? I am John the Whiskey Whisperer for the purposes of this video. So what I've got for you at this particular moment in time is the three available heirloom corn whiskeys from Pinckney Bend, starting with the one that they had for the tasting, which was their Hickory Cane at 100 proof. This variety of white dent corn was named prior to 1875, but Native Americans in northern Florida and southern Georgia originally cultivated it much earlier. Over time, Hickory Cane became popular in the South and in the Ozarks, where it was also known for its making excellent whiskey. So it's a whiskey corn. Okay, I can dig it. I can dig it, baby. I can dig it. Anyway, so I'm going to pour. Not quite an ounce and a half, because this is an ounce and a half glass. Up to the top, it's an ounce and a half. So I probably got closer to an ounce, maybe just a hair over an ounce in there. So I want to have all three with you, so I'm not going to pour them heavy. Oh, man. I remember having this during a tasting. I remember thinking, coming at it from a craft beer guy point of view, it's kind of that dankness on the nose, right? You certainly feel a lot of spice. It's a very spicy whiskey on the nose, and that's probably because so they're using Missouri white oak, and it is 100% corn whiskey. So that corn really takes to that barrel. So it is getting all that spice from that barrel. It's also taking all that vanilla from that barrel, and any sweetness that barrel has to offer. She was with the Russians too. Oh, mercy. Oh, man. The dough is just insane. You expect corn whiskey to be a little sweeter, but again, because it's that corn whiskey, again, it's soaking up everything from that barrel. Anybody watching, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put it up on the screen. Put it up there, man. Or if you'd like to be part of the video, let me know, and I will send you the link. Oh, mercy. Trying to relax here on a holiday weekend. Didn't have Friday off completely. I did work some today at a part-time gig. But I am off tomorrow and Monday, so we plan on doing some relaxing, just taking it easy. Got some stuff to grill and or smoke, depending on, well, most likely I'm going to smoke. I prefer smoking to grilling, in all honesty. And the reason why, well, once you got everything prepped for smoking, you just put it on there and forget about it. Grilling, you're always attending to the grill, but smoking, man, that's a whole other thing. You get your stuff ready. Sometimes that takes a certain amount of time. But then you put it on there and forget about it. I do have a nice prime. I've got a prime tri-tip that I've got seasoned and ready to go. I also have some chicken wings, chicken wing portions that I got marinating as we speak. So I got some stuff, man. I'm ready to go, baby. I'm ready to go. I also got some ground wagyu could do something with. A nice wagyu grind. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. I did have a good time at the Pinckney Bend tasting and tour. They were very fun and informative. It was a very enjoyable tasting and tour. I did like these heirloom varieties. So they only have you taste one because they have a current one. This is the current one that I tasted. Well, the other two they had available in their gift shop area. You let me taste them, and they had three others, but only two. They only had two available for sale. They didn't have any bottles of the other ones. So I said, okay, that's a bummer. But I didn't like the heirloom so much. I went ahead and bought the three that they had available. I'm a little mad at myself because I meant to buy just the corn, the unaged corn whiskey, because that would have made a great martini base, and then I forgot at the end to purchase that one. And also thought about buying just their unaged corn whiskey. Or the unaged corn, I'm sorry, the unaged corn whiskey I meant to buy because I thought it would make a good base martini. But they also had a corn vodka that I meant to buy for the same reason. Wall Street night at the Old Town Mall. It was a group called Jokers. They were laid in town. The greats of Rick Derringer, their Old Town Mall. He's talking about Torrance, California. There, Old Town Mall. Rock and roll, hoochie coo, the Old Town Mall. Me mama light my fuse. Rock and roll, hoochie. I actually got to meet him twice. I think I was about 20 the first time I met him at the NAMM show. At that time, it was held in Anaheim, California. I've been told that over the last, I don't know how many years, it's been done in Vegas, but it used to be in Anaheim, California. National Association of Music Merchants. Don't ask me how I got in. I just did. Anyway. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. What was interesting about Mr. Derringer was so at the band I was playing at the time, the guitar player was a big fan, and I was a big fan too, but I was not a guitar player, so it meant more to the guitar player. When we ran into Rick and the company he was supporting there, he actually took a lot of time to talk to us, man. He came on down and he talked to myself and the guitar player and the other band members for a while. He was just a very nice, personable guy. And then a few years later, I was probably about 23, 24 maybe. I saw him at a club in Little Rock, Arkansas, downtown Little Rock, Arkansas. I can't remember the name of it now. It was a long time ago. But Rick came out, did his thing, put on a great show. And then after the show, he came out and talked to the crowd. I mean, just a very nice, personable guy, man. A very humble rock star he was. Was very nice to meet him. I always find it interesting when you see stuff on various social media. Who's the most famous artist you've met? That's kind of well, personally, I think it's a stupid question to ask anybody, but I mean, it's all in your point of view, right? Somebody that's famous to me may not be famous to you. Depends on your upbringing. What are you talking about? Well, there's degrees of famous. I mean, for me, Rick Derringer is a rock star. Somebody 30 years younger than I am isn't going to know who Rick is. They're going to mention names, somebody that's relative to them, and I'm not going to know who it is. I mean, you can mention any member of One Direction. I'm not going to know who you're talking about, but to you, he's famous. It seems like a strange thing to ask to me. Who's the most famous person you talk to? Well, that's kind of a matter of opinion, right? I mean, I met Johnny Cash. I met Joey Reid. I mean, not that we've had lengthy conversations, but I mean, I went to their shows. They came down and talked to the audience afterwards. So, again, the person that's most famous to you is really the person that's near and dear to your heart, but he may not be as famous as somebody else. I guess the point is, it's really, a matter of your point of view, right? I met a lot of great blues artists over the years. Or, how famous they are, really. I mean, to me, they're famous, but to you, they might not be. So, I mean, I can mention several names, and to you, they're going to say, I don't know who that is. Well, to me, they're big stars. So, it's all relative, I suppose. I mean, I once had a lengthy conversation, hang out and had several beers with Eric Sardinas. Now, he was big and up and coming in the late '90s into the early 2000s. But people of a certain age may not know who he is. Again, Bill Perry. I mean, I knocked several beers back with Bill Perry one night after a show at Nathan P. Murphy's. And he passed away several years ago, so people of a certain age are going to have no idea who I'm talking about if I mention Bill Perry. But if I'm in a certain crowd and I say Bill Perry, said, "Oh my God, that guy was amazing," you know. So again, I feel like it's all relative, depending on, you know. I mean, depending on a lot of things, I suppose your age, your background, your genre of choice, I suppose. I mean, on my at the pub show, I had Travis Kaufman, who was at one time a top ranked heavyweight contender. So again, among certain circles, that's a very famous person. But if you're not a boxing fan, you might not know who that is. So you do get some sweetness right away. Focus back on a whiskey, Tom. Yeah, I like to talk, man. I like to talk. I have a conversation. Yeah. So again, so you're gonna feel some vanilla, obviously from the barrel. I feel like I'm picking up some honey notes. I also feel like I'm picking up. Whereas if you're having a bourbon, right, you typically will get caramel or toffee like notes. But here I'm not necessarily feeling that. But I am feeling some sweetness more in the form of honey and kind of a like a rock sugar like note. Pony like a merry-go-round. Got the great Alejandro Escovedo in the background. Yeah, again, it's all relative. For to me, Alejandro Escovedo is a big star, but if you know if that's not your genre, you might not know who he is. He's a guy that's been around for decades. He's had a lot of big tunes. He's also wrote a lot of songs for a lot of folks. But if your genre of choice is today's mindless bubblegum pop, you're not going to know who this is. Anyways, I digress. Mindless bubblegum pop. I cracked myself up. I just realized I forgot to do something though, so bear with me. I keep forgetting that I keep having these issues. I keep trying to fix it, but yep, it did it again to me. I have to go back and change the privacy. I keep trying to fix it, but it keeps going back to private, so I have to manually go back in there after I start the video. Now it's. I was wondering why nobody was watching. So now it is available. Younger women, older whiskey, and more money. The great Tom T. Hall here. Faster horses. The meaning of life is faster horses, younger women, older whiskey, and more money. Now, who can argue with that? I mean, it does seem a little bit superficial, but nevertheless, it's not terrible advice. That's all it means to me. The only part I would argue with, in all honesty, would be the younger women part. Who the hell needs that? They're all high maintenance, and they're not going to understand a damn thing you have to say. Faster horse, younger women, older whiskey, and more money. My wife's here making comments. See, she's losing her voice, so she's trying to tell me something, but it sounds like this. And I'm getting that look like I'm going to pay for everything I say a little bit later in time, but no nookie for Papa for quite some time. anyways, I digress. Can't argue with the older whiskey part. Older whiskey is always good. The caveat to that is, like I said, I did the Picnic Bent tour, and he was showing the smaller barrels that they age this in. So even though it's only aged a year, yeah, I mean it's in smaller barrels, so it really picks up picks up those notes. It's really, it acts and reacts. It tastes like a much older whiskey than it actually is because it's aged in smaller barrels. Younger women, older whiskey, and more money. Uh, so again, yeah, you do feel that sweetness right away. Again, you're going to find some vanilla. Uh, again, I feel that kind of that raw sugar note, a little bit of honey, very oaky and spicy in the finish. Certainly some cinnamon, some allspice, some ginger for me. I feel more of a white pepper note than a black pepper note, but that could just be my taste. Or again, a lot of that is just how attuned you are to spice notes. I use both black pepper and white pepper, so and they will hit you at two different places on your palate. For me, I feel more of a white pepper note, but some of you might feel more as black pepper if you don't eat white pepper. You're just gonna feel pepper, so you're gonna say, okay, that's black pepper. But for me, I feel more white pepper. Belinda. Oh, beautiful, man. Anyway, talked a little more than I intended on, but I just want to relax, enjoy some whiskey with y'all. Rinse my glass out here before I pour the next one in. My partner in crime. So the second variety, and they're in no particular order. I'm just grabbing how they were there. So made from Boone County open pollinated heirloom corn. This is at 100 proof. They're all at 100 proof. Boone County White. One of the most prominent corn varieties grown in Missouri in the last century. It was especially popular with farmers working the rich bottom ground along the Mississippi and Missouri rivers. Today, this old favorite is making a resurgence among heirloom corn enthusiasts. So what I thought was interesting about this heirloom corn series is that the only difference is the corn, right? They're using different varieties of corn. They're distilling everything exactly the same way. It's all 100% corn whiskey, and the tastes are very different among all three of them here. You got to roll me. You got to roll me. So I poured about an ounce in there ish. Maybe a hair over. I'm just going a little bit under that ounce and a half line. You see the color of this one's a little bit different too. It's maybe a touch lighter than the hickory cane. And the nose is completely different. It's what's really throwing me off with these heirloom varieties. I was so intrigued and why I bought them. This one feels very nutty on the nose. You get these peanut, almost like a peanut brittle like note on the nose. That's what I found very interesting about this one. I do remember that having that little bit at the tasting room. Not tasting room, but at the gift shop area, I guess. What I do, oh gosh, that's gorgeous. What I do find awesome about this one here in particular, the aromas, the flavors, but sometimes what gets overlooked is the viscosity, the mouthfeel. This one just feels so velvety smooth. I really fell in love with this one. Again, I get those big peanut notes, this peanut brittle-like note, if you will. And a sweet peanut, it really does feel like peanut brittle. You know, also feel like you might be getting a hint of honey and raw sugar in there as well. You're certainly going to feel the vanilla. Actually, in all honesty, I'm picking up more vanilla on this one than the hickory cane. But I'm feeling that peanut note. I really am feeling that peanut note. Wow. But for me, again, it kind of feels like peanut brittle, like a peanut brittle like note. Mm. Again, big oak and spicy finish. Not quite as spicy as the hickory cane, but you do get some spice. It does feel just a little bit different though. Again, some allspice, some cinnamon. Where I was feeling more white pepper here, I'm feeling more black pepper over here. It's that peanut note. That peanut note I really find appealing. I wish I had bought a second bottle of this one because I know this is going to be my favorite of the three. I really love that peanut note. And it may be just me that's picking it up, in all honesty. It's just the way I'm feeling it. I feel like I get that big peanut note in there. It's very earthy notes, I guess I should say. RC and all the others. Life is a rock, but the radio rolled me. Oh man, that's just gorgeous. Again, I mean, I can't say enough how much I enjoyed that tasting. I say tour. They don't really take you around a lot of stuff. They did kind of show you the tanks, but it wasn't like you walk through a large part of the building to get a tasting room. You taste. He kind of points out some stuff, but it was very interesting, very informative. The kid doing the tour had a great personality. And I feel like I bought most of the products that I did because he didn't try to sell me a damn thing. He showed me we had the tasting. I showed the interest, and he brought the bottles out. If he tried to push me in any one direction, I probably would have balked and not bought a damn thing. But because he let me sell myself, well, I bought 4 bottles of whiskey. I think a lot of folks don't understand that you gotta let the folks sell themselves because they will. If you've got a good product to offer, they're gonna sell themselves. You just have to let it happen. And sometimes the more you push, the less sales you're gonna make. I mean, a lot of sales folks just don't understand that. Sometimes the best way to sell something is not try to sell anything. Just bond with the person you're talking to. Offer them the information. Sometimes having a conversation outside of the product you're trying to sell is exactly what's going to sell your product. The average kid. Somebody might have noticed, but I never did. Never saw the future fade and ride into the past. I love this tune. Talking to the wallpaper, wander in the halls. I burned a lot of bridges and I dropped. So wonder I can never go back to any place I've been. That particular verse feels like it was written specifically about me. It's a great tune, the great James McMurtry. I've loved this guy for a long time, but I tell you what I like more about him now is he was recently photographed in Tennessee where they've enacted these bizarre anti-drag laws. I imagine we're going to see him here in Missouri pretty soon because we've got a lot of stupidity here in Missouri. So he did a show and address to just defy the ignorance and the powers that be. I have no idea why the far right is so afraid of drag queens, drag shows, and pronouns, but they are. Now they could be offended by school shootings and a whole lot of things, but no, it's drag queens and pronouns. That's what they're afraid of. Oh my God. We could all be making real change and making sure we don't have any homeless. We can make sure kids are being fed. But no. Let's focus on drag queens and pronouns because we're really that fucking stupid. Anyway, I digress. It don't matter all that much if it don't bleed. God, this whiskey, man. I really like that hickory cane because it was the one I had with the tasting. So they give you a small amount during the tasting. You go to the gift shop and he'll let you taste a few things, but it's even a smaller amount. So I just had enough of the other 2 varieties just to know I wanted to buy them. But after I got these bottles home and am able to have, a larger sample, let's say, man, there's something about this one that really, I do remember during that tasting, tasting those peanut notes. And now that I'm here drinking a full ounce of this whiskey, it's, damn, it's that peanut, it's that peanut brutal like note that I pick out. So I said peanut. So let me put a finer point on that. Roasted peanut. Doesn't feel like raw peanut. Feels like more of a roasted peanut again, and then peanut brittle like note. You're on, like me. I can share my bread and wine. I come from another time. Don't matter all that much if it don't bleed. Oh, this guy's. I do love me some Jason Murtry, but I like him more now that he's taken a stand. Or of course, he's always taken a stand. If you know anything about his music, he's always taken a social stand. But you gotta love artists like that have the guts to make a difference. While other artists are just concerned about selling albums, you've got artists like this that have the balls to take a stand. And I don't remember what the third was, so I'm really curious now that I poured this one second. I just remember that peanut note. Oh, mercy, Percy. But you get a bit of that lingering spice though once you finish it all up, especially around the tip of your tongue. A little bit of those black pepper like those. Again, spice, a little bit of allspice, a little bit of cinnamon. This particular one, I'm going to add cardamom to that mix. Again, I do feel that peanut brittle note, but again, you are going to feel some vanilla. Also, pick up some honey. I do feel the raw sugar, but not as predominant as the hickory cane. The hickory cane, I really felt that raw sugar note. Here it's just really a bit player, but again, yeah, you feel some honey in there, and with those, that peanut butter like sweetness. Let's say. I saw the Queen of L.A. At least she said she was, and who am I to say? Let me rinse my glass out here. Out of here by now. So let's change. The last of the three for the heirloom is the Tennessee Red Cob. So let me pour that. Then we're going to read the back of that bottle. So Tennessee Red Cob, heirloom corn. Again, they're all open pollinated heirloom corn at 100 proof. Tennessee Red Cob in 1840. Let me get my eyes to focus here. In 1840, Tennessee was the leading corn producing state. I did not know that. Okay. In the Union. And much of this corn was genetically known as Indian corn. Red Cob began appearing in seed catalogs prior to 1900, and it was popular throughout the Ozarks region. It was a superior grain for flour, grits, and whiskey. Okay, that makes sense. Aged for 2 years in new and second use Missouri white oak cooperage. So, all right, let's see what this one has to offer. Excuse me, that burp snuck out on me. Oh wow, okay. And again, I'm just amazed. I guess I shouldn't be, but I'm just amazed at how different all three of them are. The only difference is the corn that's used. It's a very clean nose, very clean aromatics. Maybe more subtle than the other two, in all honesty. Oh wow, that is interesting. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna take another drink and I want to talk a little bit. Again, the mouthfeel, the viscosity. Oh man. And so it does feel a little sweeter than the other two, in all honesty. So I made it clear with the other two that I wasn't getting those, those caramel or toffee like notes that you get from a bourbon. I was getting more of a raw sugar, some honey, but this one comes at you a little bit different. I feel like it's a little bit sweeter. Big and oaky in the finish, but not as spicy as the other two. So what that tells me is that it just absorbs that barrel just a little bit differently. So a lot of vanilla going on. I'm still getting that honey note, but I am feeling just a hint of caramel here, where I wasn't feeling the caramel. I was feeling more of that raw sugar in the other two. Here I am feeling some caramel and honey-like notes. So the spice I'm getting here is a little bit different as well. I'm not feeling cinnamon as much as you typically get from Missouri White Oak. Maybe a little bit of allspice, some cardamom for sure, a little bit of ginger, but I'm not feeling those pepper notes or the white pepper or black pepper. I'm feeling just the slightest hint of cayenne, just that slight notion of cayenne right at the end. So why do I say that? Because it hits you at a different place on the palate. It just comes at you in a little bit different way. Again, yeah, a little honey, but yeah, just a hint of caramel right there. It's a hint of smooth, creamy caramel. But a lot of vanilla. I do feel like this one gives you more vanilla than the other two. A sweet cream vanilla going on. Oh, mercy, mercy. Oh, that is good. Yeah, so if I had to put these in order, and I really hate to, because here's the thing, I can tell you how I'm feeling it today. I could drink all three tomorrow and give you a completely different answer. But as much as beer geeks and whiskey geeks want to rank everything, I will tell you that for me, if I had to pick favorites right this very minute, I would say that for me, there's something just I love about this Boone County because I love that peanut note. There's something special about that one for me. However, the red cob, this one I really like. And even though I'm going to take the Hickory Canis third, I mean it's not far off. And again, that's really just how I'm feeling at this particular moment in time. To be your lover, baby. Because these all came in small bottles, I'm probably going to do them all neat. However, I'm always thinking, right? Because if I was to cocktail any of these three, or put them in the right cocktail, might be a better way to put that. I feel like this red cob would make a beautiful old fashioned. I do feel like the hickory cane would make a beautiful Manhattan. Now the other one, the peanut note, I'm kind of stumped to be honest with you. I'm not going to on the rocks any of them. I might do a straight up cocktail, but these are too good to go on the rocks with. So happy Memorial Day weekend for everybody. And for those, there's always got to be that one asshole that's got to say, well, you got to remember what the weekend's all about. It's not about grilling. Well, of course it's not. We all know that, but we are grateful that we are able to do the things we do because of the veterans. We get that. I don't know why there's always that one asshole that feels the need to point it out. We all get it. Yeah, my dad was a World War II vet and a Korean War vet. Uh, It's a Bronze Star from World War II. And every time I talk, so funny, you talk to somebody from a different era, and they tend to water down Bronze Stars. But when you talk to folks from that era, it's no, Bronze Star wasn't easy to get in World War II. And that was that typical Greatest Generation type. Is at the medals were all put in a closet. I mean, we didn't even know about them until years later when they sold their house in California when we were all adults at that time. And I think it was my sister that found them buried in a closet somewhere. Dad didn't talk about it. He didn't mention it. I remember, I think I was 12 years old when we took the first vacation Dad ever took after he was forced to retire due to health reasons to South Dakota. And we met up with an old friend of his who happened to be in the war with him. He said, "Did your dad ever tell you he was a hero?" And the second that this guy said that to me, Dad walked out of the room. Dad didn't want any part of that conversation. He didn't like people talking about him being a hero. It really rubbed him the wrong way. Of course, people are different now. If somebody even thinks they might be a hero, they're writing a book. But back in that day, no, they just didn't like that conversation. Got some instrumental going on in the background. The Great Popsicle Rebels, a Kansas City area band with roots to Springfield. So anyways, I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, man. I had a possibility on a fourth, but I'm going to do this video focusing on just these three. So heirloom corn varieties. Let me show you those bottles one last time before I wrap this video up. Hickory Cane. These are all from Pinckney Bend. They're all heirloom corn varieties. So I got the Hickory Cane we did first. The second one up was the Boone County. And our last but not least was the Red Cob. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, man. Oh, man, this stuff is gorgeous, man. It ain't playing. All right, good guy. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate y'all.